Here we have a problem on derivative. There is a function g of x given over here. That is x negative a over square root of x negative square root of a. We have to find g prime of x. That is the first derivative of this given function. And in the given function, this a is a constant. It is given over here. Okay, now to get derivative of the given function g of x first, let me write the given function as it is. That is g of x equals to x negative a over square root of x negative square root of a. Okay, before I start finding derivative, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some simplification in the given function. So because if I simplify the given function, so the process of finding derivative will be easier. So what kind of simplification we can do in this function? So we can consider the denominator over here. We have the difference of two square roots. So if I multiply the conjugate of the square root of x and square root of a in both numerator and denominator, this function can be simplified. So what is the conjugate of the expression in denominator over here? So it's very simple. We just have to change the sign in the middle. So already we have a negative sign in the middle. So if I change this negative sign to positive, so the expression what I'm getting is called the conjugate. So the derivative, the conjugate of square root of x negative square root of a is square root of x positive square root of a. So I multiply both numerator and denominator by its conjugate, that is square root of x positive square root of a, and here also square root of x positive square root of a. Okay, now let me continue the next step. G of x equals to, so when I multiply this x negative a and square root of x positive square root of a, we can just write them together. That is x negative a times square root of x positive square root of a. Okay, now let's consider an identity in algebra, that is a square negative b square equals to a positive b times a negative b. So like this is difference of two squares, and whenever we have a difference of two squares, it can be written in the factor form like a positive b times a negative b. Or in another way, we can say that whenever we multiply two binomials in this form a positive b a negative b, that is equal to the square of the first term negative the square of the second term. So now just look at the expression we have in denominator over here. So square root of x negative square root of a times square root of x positive square root of a. So the product over here, the product of these two binomials is exactly in the form of a positive b times a negative b. So the product of the product of this one can be written as, okay, let me continue over here, divided by, so since this is in the form of a negative b times a positive b, we have to write a square. Instead of a, we have square root of x, so we can write square root of x the whole square negative b square. Instead of b, we have square root of a, so we can write square root of a the whole square. Okay, now the square root and square root can be cancelled, and here the same thing, square root and square can be cancelled. So g of x equals to, we get x negative a times square root of x positive square root of a over x negative a. So this x negative a can be cancelled. So I'm getting g of x equals to square root of x positive square root of a. Okay, so here you may have a question. Why do you have to do such a simplification? In this step itself, the given function, we can find the derivative of the given function as it is. But in the given function, we find variable in both numerator and denominator. We may have to apply the coefficient rule. But if I do the simplification, what I've done so far, so there is no rational function over here. We just have a square root function. So we can find derivative of this one easily. Okay, so before find derivative, I have to do one more work. That is, I have to write the square root for the variable x as an exponent. Whenever I have square root, it can be written as exponent, that is 1/2, and we can keep the square root of a as it is. Okay, the question says a is a constant. So when a is a constant, and if I find the square root of a, that will also be a constant. So whenever I find square root of a constant, it will also be a constant. Okay, now so that's how the simplification we can do. Now we can start finding derivative. That is g prime of x equals to get derivative of this one, I can use a power law of derivative. What is power law of derivative? So I have to bring this one of exponent in front of the variable and subtract 1 from the exponent. So then I'm getting 1/2 times x to the power of 1/2 negative 1. So I just got the exponent in front of the variable, and also I subtracted 1 from the exponent. This is called a power law of derivative. So positive. So a is a constant and square root of a is also constant. When I find derivative of a constant, it will become 0. Okay, now g prime of x equals to 1/2 times x to the power of, so now I have to simplify this 1/2 negative 1. When I simplify this one, I'm getting negative 1/2. Okay, so g prime of x equals to, so whenever we get negative exponents when we are trying to solve a problem, so usually we'll make the negative exponent as positive. So how can we make this negative exponent as positive? You just have to move this term to denominator. When I move this one to denominator, I'm getting 1/2 times x to the power of 1/2. Okay, let me continue over here. G prime of x equals to 1/2 times. So already we have discussed the stuff over here. So when we have square root, I said we can write it as exponent 1/2. So here we have exponent 1/2 for x. So it can be written as square root for x. So then I'm getting 2 times square root of x. So I got the derivative of the given function, that is g prime of x equals to 1 over 2 times square root of x.